video to manage terror slash my terror or a form of terror management. After watching a video about it, I'll link it below. Just basically another venting video, but more structured with vocabulary words, essentially. The song at the top, heard it at a grocery store. So, which was a weird place for it, but still interesting anyway, all the same. The lyrics really hit different. For it being a sort of, I guess you could call it pop-ish song. It was like the lyrics were surprisingly relatable. I was like, wow. But essentially, this isn't directly, might be a little paraphrase just because I don't feel like looking it up. But it goes, are you a little bit tired of life? Are you not really happy, but you don't want to die? That's essentially sums up the story of being, for me, whatever me is at this point, for a while. It's just like, I just don't get it. And I mean, maybe it just, for lack of a better word, can't be got. So, like, I got to a point where it's just like, I can sort of be neutral about life a little bit, but fully embracing it, kind of, it seems like it's hard to embrace without getting entangled in or tangled up in, attached, and being clingy to life, and being one of caring about a legacy and so many other things like that, which I'm not even at this point. I used to judge that, but now I kind of just see it as another form of terror management. Like, it's just another coping thing for people. Some people have, like, there's always going to be like a scale, I guess, or a spectrum, a circular spectrum, maybe, of ways that people react to things. For some people are going to be, some people have something bad happen to them and they spiral and get into drugs, or some people get into, like, go to the gym or something like that. It's just different forms of the cope and whatever, I guess you could say, society or deems okay, or is culturally okay for you to do. I guess therapy would be another one of them. Like, that's that type of thing. And maybe terror management could be a part of therapy, or is a part of some therapies. That would be interesting. I didn't watch the end of the video yet because it's kind of tough to get through, because you just kind of, it's just like one of those where you just hear it and it's like, so, and maybe it answers it in the end, but like, you just kind of hear it and it's like, what's the point? Same thing with like any video about nihilism. Is like, I guess with terror management it's different, because like with a nihilism video you can say, well, why make the video? But I mean, no one's saying like you shouldn't do anything, or it doesn't necessarily, just because you're aware of death and whatever, I guess that doesn't mean you're pro dying yourself. I don't know. Is that that YouTube censorship thing even real? Can I like actually not say what? But anyway, the S word, or um, sealing yourself or something like that. I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's actually a real thing, where if you say a certain thing, it like, but it doesn't. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter. That's a little bit cliche. But who's even watching this? It's just another venting video for the void, for the to manage my terror. I'm gonna be, at least I'm kind of upfront about why I'm even making this. Essentially, just to do something, because I don't know what else to do. There's only so much, whatever exercising or something you can do to uh, manage your terror. So I have to do other things in the in between time. And then the second part thing I learned from a search, the concept of fatalistic withdrawal, the idea that when individuals don't have self-esteem and worldview resources to fall back on, when they become threatened, individuals enter a cycling of depression and anxiety. Now that one kind of hit a little bit, hit the nail on the head a little bit, which is just like slightly comforting in a way, but still just like, damn. Because the thing that at least I start to notice is just like it's easy to find something that's relatable or like fits, but the solution is like how do you embrace death and live at the same? That's the part that I don't. Perhaps I'm just taking it too literally. That's kind of also another tough one to get over. I don't know how else to take things. And I shouldn't say I don't know how, but mentally, it's like the default setting. So then, I guess in terms of solutions, like the self improvement, I got bit or something by the self improvement bug, and it started off alright, but like I quit doing mostly addictive things and things that are like quote unquote bad habits and all of that for the sake of improving myself, as the term goes. And it's still just kind of like, you just kind of feel, I basically just felt like the sobering reality. It wasn't like I still didn't have the reason or anything to do things. I just do things. And it's kind of like living like that is, I mean, I don't want to say life isn't supposed to be fun, but it's like, if you don't like the movie, why are you sitting through it? Like, I don't want to, and it's, I guess you say impulsive to even really think about dying yourself anyway, because it's just like you're assuming that it's something better that it actually stops, which is bold. Like this, like basically going along with, to use a term, absurdity, because I can't think of anything else right now, but just based off how life is, it seems too simple and too easy for it to just end. I feel like that would be too easy, all things considered. I could be wrong. I don't feel like finding out. Not saying it's like a torture sort of thing involved, but maybe just like running away from the problems doesn't stop them. But there's really no way to know. That's kind of the whole thing, conundrum, etc., etc. I guess you say like it's foolish to like be hopeless about life but put so much hope into death. That's kind of like getting into a relationship and putting so much, or becoming so obsessed and losing yourself in the other person because you think that it's going to fix something in you or fill you up inside and make you whole. So that's basically why I guess that's my version of dying yourself prevention, in a way, in a sort of backwards way. But I mean, I'm just being honest. But who knows? And then I'll just throw out the term depressive realism, which I used to kind of be like, man, what is that even? Like, but it has some weight to it in some way. At the end of a Healthy Gamer GG video, shout out to Dr. K, and at least providing some decent information. Take it or leave it. No one's perfect. I've given up on that too. So, but the information is there. But at the end of the video about how to break the cycle of depression, roughly, I don't know if that's the exact title, but it's enough keywords in there for me to come back to it. He talks about depressive realism. I was like, wow, it was interesting to hear, because I haven't heard that term in a while, since like maybe 2019 or something like that. But anyway, that was just interesting to hear that again. And then I'll throw out the term self-preservation. That's also that's like the ultimate dying yourself prevention, just to, this may be something innate, if that's the word, or just like biological, that's hard to override somewhat, at least like, I don't want to say consciously. I feel like in a moment, if you could give somebody a button and it would they would just take the long nap, then it would probably be a decent population drop off. But it's usually, the thing about it is, it's not a button, it's like a process to it. Even if you go the, I guess you could say, fastest route, which is like, yeah, I don't know if you could argue that jumping is like a, depending on the height, but maybe that, but like really using devices to turn yourself off. Even if you go about that, it's still a process to it, which is like that kind of in itself kind of like lowers the impulsiveness a little bit. Then I guess you could argue, like, I don't think anyone wants to necessarily die. They just don't want to live, which is so simple, but such a simple statement. But it's like, I don't know if people really understand it, because people always seem to be confused when someone goes out the door of life. There's always some sort of like, what? Why? Like, are you not, like, I don't want to be mean necessarily. I'm not trying to do all that, because people just are how they are. It's upbringing. It's so many factors. Most people probably aren't even how they want to be. So from that point, it's just like, So I'm not trying to be like, just get on them for that, but it's so many factors, like I was saying, but psychologically and societally and all that, whatever. And you can't know what you don't know. So it just kind of, but yeah, still like it's still interesting to me how it's like a, I guess that's kind of just shows the um, gap between like people who aren't uh, depressed or experience some sort of depressive realism, whatever you want to call it, sense of like disillusionment, disappointment with life and purposelessness and why am I here and all of the existential, psychological, philosophical mumbo gumbo stuff. Like there's actually people that just they just live, I guess, and they're just fine. Not fine, but like they just look past it apparently or distract themselves well enough and they're doing a pretty good job. I would say I envy them, but it's just kind of what can I do is I am how I am. They are how they are. Envy becomes pointless too. I could only do what I can do. So, and it's coping, and then self-preservation, um, the taking care of the body, I guess, and then you could at the end of self-preservation, you kind of throw on like not wanting to suffer. That's kind of another reason why uh, dying yourself or whatever you want to call it, ending it is that's another obstacle. And the fastest ways of doing it are like, and anyway, but that living for other people and not yourself after a while. Like it's kind of just like, just here, just alive. And maybe at some point, maybe in like in tribal sort of days or amongst tribal groups, currently there might still be some people, there are still some people living like that. Shout out to them. That's enough to just be alive and gather things and help the community that you're in. It's not really about money and da da da. Just being alive, and until you aren't. But the whole whatever arbitrary societal terror management esque things around us kind of make that hard. When you start getting like money and work and all these other things where kind of go past survival and you have to like hoard and have more than you need and all of that and aspire to that. At least in the economic system. I mean, it kind of, I don't know if it's specifically capital. I guess it's partially specifically capitalism, but like just the modern way of thinking. Could you call it Western? Something like that maybe. Again, terror management. I'm trying to manage my terror, and I suppose I am if I'm even still here. But that kind of just speaks more to survival than anything else. I wouldn't call myself a Superman or anything like that. And then I'll end it on this part before going on to the last little 3 things, reading off a sticky note. I don't want to be mean again because people don't know what they know and people just are how they are because of upbringing, condition, subconscious, psychological, etc., history, etc., etc. I guess, and for some of the spiritual folks, they can just say it's just because of something within them. They're just, it's an innate, I don't know about all that, but mainly most people aren't even who they want to be. So I can't really fault them for how they are. That's the simplest way I could put it. And I could somewhat relate to that as well. So I don't want to be mean in saying this, but I'm just going to throw it out there to be completely honest. Because it's just a terror management video. To put it simply, for lack of a better term, it doesn't really matter. I'm just managing my terror right now. So, K Sarah Sarah. I don't even think I'm using that right. I don't want to be mean, but I'm going to just have to throw it out there. Third time's the charm. I'm starting to wonder if trouble conceiving or miscarriage is a sign at this point. Especially for people who are into the spiritual realm and religious-esque sort of any belief or things supernatural, things that are beyond the objective, what we see, and adding to reality through their ways of thinking. For those type of people, I mean, is trouble conceiving or miscarriage a sign of something? You know what I mean? Like, think about it. I'll put it another way. Like, let's say you were chasing someone, you were attracted to someone or something like that and had a crush, but it didn't work out. Like, sometimes, like, I thought the whole point was like, you, what's meant for you is meant for you, and what's not is not. And if it is, it will be, and if it's not, then it won't be. That's what seems to be a theme in certain groups. But it seems like you kind of go against that by saying, like, pushing, when it out of, like, I don't want to be mean, I'm just saying, because I feel like you could possibly end up with a situation when you go against the grain, against the flow. Some people might even say, it's weird that people don't think of that as playing God, but whatever. So you'll end up with a kid that maybe doesn't want to be alive, to put it simply. Like, what else could a miscarriage or trouble conceiving possibly mean other than someone who doesn't want to be here? Especially if it's multiple times. How do you think that kid is going to be indirectly? Or if you are like, I don't want to say soul, but like a, you know what I mean? Like, could that possibly mean something? I don't really understand any sort of I don't like the word procreation. It sounds too scientific and like E-word. It starts to sound like anyway, the E-word. So I'm not getting into that. But having kids is always very confusing to me. Even though I know it's a part of terror management in some way, it's still interesting how certain people pick certain forms of terror management. Like, this is my form of terror management, but I think creating a video is like that no one necessarily sees is a little bit different from, like, even the term creating life is so wild. But I'll just leave that one there. I put at the end of the little sticky note I have, going against the grain / flow of life / flow of the universe, as the spiritual, mystical, etc. sort of people might say. Nothing against that. I get it. Managing your terror. Sometimes I manage my terror that way too. It's a spectrum, I suppose. It all depends. Memento mori, etc., etc. And then the last little three things. This is just an interesting, I don't know if I could call it interesting, but this is just a hypothesis that might be proven. I just don't know how to use the right search terms to look it up and see. But is there a connection between brain waves, specifically theta, executive dysfunction, and derealization / not feeling real? Oh wow, I might have to do a little rewind on that. Is there a connection between brain waves, specifically theta, and executive dysfunction, and derealization / life not feeling real, or things just not feeling real anymore? I thought about that after watching the beginning. It's easy to start things, but hard to finish things. That might, I hate to self-diagnose, but which I don't understand the shitting, so much shitting on. But anyway, whatever. I don't want to say it's executive dysfunction, but it sure is hard to start things, hard to finish things after starting them. Just end up with a lot of halfway watched videos and all of that. Terror management. But it was after watching that video, because the YouTuber was talking about how, specifically in this case, ADHD, people with ADHDers, I suppose you could say, I kind of like that, operate in the theta brainwave, if that's how you, I don't know if that wording is, but close enough. I can't believe this is still recording. I can't believe I'm real. That kind of goes along with this. But they're basically operating in a slower thinking pattern, speed. So, and I was just wondering what that does to someone's perception of life. And next, it's the creating your own solution or meaning, whatever that means. I feel like that's kind of gotten cliched out, but creating your own meaning for life and the dizziness of freedom and knowing what's wrong / the diagnosis. It's easy to find faults and etc. about yourself, but treatment / fixing being hard and driving you mad. If there even is maybe that's the problem too, that I'm trying to fix something that isn't broken necessarily. It's like putting someone, not like in modern times, but back in early human development, taking someone who lives in the equator and throwing them up in Scandinavia or closer to the North Pole. It's like, yeah, of course they're gonna suffer. They aren't built for it. They aren't acclimated for it. You know what I mean? So maybe that's all it is. I'm just someone who is built for certain conditions, and I'm not in those certain conditions. So I'm just shivering, or getting, I guess, to flip it around, I'll be getting sunburned and all of that, because it's just not the right environment for me. And that's kind of more of a positive spin to put on it. I somewhat do want to enjoy things, but it's just hard to go back to that. And I don't like using the Matrix as anything anymore, because that's just been like so overused and corrupted and to the point where it's just like bashing you over the anyway. But it's just hard to go back like physically. Like I've tried to just watch whatever TV shows and stuff that I like didn't finish halfway through. It was just like after a while, it's just like I don't know, the feeling just isn't there. Anhedonia, there's a name for everything, etc., etc. Should probably drink some water. Wrapping it up. I guess the end of this was like I should make a type 5. This was after watching a clip of Norm Macdonald. Is that how I think that's how you say it? Because he had a joke about, we'll just say death. That was like interesting. It's like like surprising to hear something like that. Every now and then you'll get a little nugget of something. But he was basically just like joking about how people don't understand how someone dies themselves, like how that's so confusing to people. It was just I couldn't. That was a nice little bit of lighten, laughter. I don't lighten the mood. I truly don't know. But whatever. Terror management, terror management, terror management, terror management. Just a type 5 of me venting and being brutally honest, but using humor because it's a loophole, an acceptable way to talk about dark topics to a wide audience. Done. There you go. Terror management, terror management, terror management, terror management, terror management.